2, 1. Live. 3, 2, 1. Bam! Alright. I'm Dan Salem, live on YouTube, live on Facebook, live here on election night. Bill Jets. Let's tweet this stuff out to the community. Tweeting from BuzzChomp at BUZZZ. That's 3 Z's on Twitter. And I'm about to retweet it on at the Dan Salem on Twitter, at the Dan Salem on Facebook Live, at BuzzChomp with regular 2 old Z's on YouTube. That's right, there's BuzzChomp channel on YouTube with live stream action and a ton of other vlogs. I do comedy on YouTube too, Pillow Talk TV. But right now I'm live on BuzzChomp's live stream and at the Dan Salem on Facebook. We're going to talk some Jets football. It's election night. If we were going to vote on this New York Jets season, would we vote for it to mercifully come to a conclusion right here and now? Yeah, pretty much, because if the season ended today, the Jets would get, they'd get like the 4th pick in the draft, I think. Cleveland's ahead behind them. The Bears are ahead behind them. And I believe it's Jacksonville is ahead behind them. So the Jets would be up there. 4th, 5th pick in the draft. That's money. I mean, with little to no playoff hopes, I wrote today that I'm hoping that we get a really good draft pick. Because 2 years ago we got the 6th pick and it turned into a tremendous NFL. We got holes across the team. I will address those in a second. Coming off a loss here to the Miami Dolphins in Week 9. It's a close game. It was much closer than it should have been. Very sloppy. Both teams ugly football. 2 ugly football teams this year. Second-year head coach, first-year head coach. It showed. Lots of penalties. Both these teams are bad points of the season, and they showed they're undisciplined football teams. I mean, it just got like 4 unnecessary roughness or penalties, some unnecessary roughness / non-football related penalties because they were taunting and all this BS, all right? Yeah, the season's gone. It slipped away, okay? You're not a playoff team this year. I understand that sucks. But if you want to keep winning, you got to still act like a winner. Plain and simple. The Dolphins baited you. The Dolphins suck too. They're not making the playoffs. They're what, 4-4, I think. They're not going to make the playoffs. It's highly unlikely unless Denver and Oakland and Kansas City all tank, because right now 2 of those 3 teams are leading the wild card at 6-2, 6-3, something like that. I believe, yeah, sorry. Denver's got 3 losses, so they're it's close, but Denver's way better than Miami. Miami's not a playoff team. They stink. The Jets, they're not a playoff team either. Look at how crappy the team stayed together. We just fighting within themselves, yelling at each other on the sideline. Our 2 team captains screaming at each other. 2 players got benched for the first quarter for missing meetings and not doing it. 2 of our defensive leaders. It's all coming apart, and it's okay. It's okay, because if you look at a little bit closer, the players that are coming apart at the seams, if you want to put that in air quotes, they're not likely to be on the team next year. Now, we have Muhammad Wilkerson signed longer term, so perhaps he'll stick around. But Sheldon Richardson, he's a good trading chip this offseason, and he's not shown to want to stay on our team. Muhammad Wilkerson, probably going to stick around, but again, dude, get it together, or we're going to try to trade you too. I know we just signed you a long-term deal, but most of the guaranteed money already falls in the Jets' lap, so maybe we trade you. Fitzpatrick on a 1-year deal, he's done. So if him and Brandon Marshall don't get along, oh well, Brandon Marshall will get along with the next quarterback up, which is going to happen rather quickly here, because why keep playing a guy when the season's over? We got 1 more game until the bye week, and then there's going to be a lot of changes regardless of what happens. I truly believe that. It's coming at a good point in the year for the Jets because it's about 2/3 of the way through. We haven't even played the Patriots yet, but we kind of know that the season's out of reach, and therefore we can make the changes necessary to look towards the future and look towards that draft without giving up, because no one wants to give up. I understand. You don't want to give up. All right, let's check my notes. So the Jets, we have the win in hand. The penalties actually weren't hurting us. The defense did not give up a big play like they usually do. What did happen was that our special teams shit the bed. Offsides on the kickoff, and then a poor decision on where to kick, and then a terrible coverage, and the Dolphins win. Before that, It was ugly. Ugly across the board, all right? The offense actually looked reasonably good outside of the fact that we could not score in the red zone. What is it? Fitzpatrick again, another red zone interception. We did score, but Jets getting way too many field goals in the red zone. It's just inefficiency, and it comes back to play calling, and I'm going to touch on that rather shortly here after one or two more notes. Okay. As a fan, what do we root for? I wanted them to beat the Dolphins. I hate the Dolphins, and a win there would have put us better in position. If we beat the Rams, we're 4-6. We basically got to win out to make the playoffs, and that's, I mean, it could happen, but it's a crapshoot. So what are we rooting for? We're rooting for the future of our team because there are some really, really good rookies and second-year players on the Jets right now. We can get some really good players in the draft, and we got to see what we got, okay? I want to let the players not yet in the game audition. I want to see what Brace Petty's got. I want to see what Christian Hackenberg's got. I want these rookies to take more leadership positions. The Jets have been playing their wide receiver rookies out of necessity, and all three of them have shown signs of really good stuff. Robbie Anderson continued. Jalen Marshall this past game showed good signs. Sharon Peake's been playing well, off and on as well. The three of them, and then Anunwa who's just stepped it up. We got a great core of receivers. There are a couple good running backs in the draft, and I say that because the two on the Jets' current roster, I mean, Bilal Powell's going to be around a few more seasons, but he's not a number one. I feel like he's a 1A almost all the time. And Forte, I mean, maybe he's got another year or two left in him, but he's not a long-term answer. So I don't know if we go running back this year, but it's possible because the Jets' running backs core is a little bit aged. Granted, they're playing really well. So when will Petty get his audition? I'm kind of thinking against the Patriots after the bye. I mean, it doesn't matter really what the record is going into the bye week. Why? What are we playing for? Now, if we win, we're 4-6. So we're not going to be mathematically eliminated. I get it. We're not going to be mathematically eliminated. But we're eliminated. I mean, I've watched every Jets game. This team is not a playoff team. We don't have it together. Maybe a new quarterback with a new fire and a new moxie can ignite us. Fitzpatrick is not igniting us. He's doing just enough to put us in position to win, but he's not doing enough to win us the game. We don't have great special teams still, and the defense is bend but not break, which means the offense needs to do a little bit more than it's been doing. Now, Fitzpatrick's doing enough, but I gotta say, I don't think it'll happen during the year, but I really believe Chan Gailey is going to be the scapegoat and the first man out the door after this failed season. It's rare in the NFL that someone doesn't get fired when a team fails to meet expectations. I think Chan Gailey is going to be the one let go from this mess of a year. Now, personally, I'm very happy with the progress of some of our players. I actually don't think that I do believe that Todd Bowles has done a good job. Considering the enormous holes on the defense, he's managed to fill them a little bit more each week, and the defense looks better and better each week. The defense looks better and better every single week, and that's his specialty. He likes to lead the offense while he oversees it to his coordinator. Now, and I also like what our GM Mike McCadden's doing, and honestly, I don't think 2 years is enough time for either of those. But I got a little bit of a beef with Gailey, mainly because we know what works for this team is running the football and passing to mix things up. It worked really well in our 2 victories. And yet he gets away from it so easily and falls back into his, I want to pass first because, oh my God, look at all these offensive weapons I've got. The Jets do not have the offensive line to pass block enough or well at all. We've got the offensive line to run the ball very, very well. We do not pass block well. Fitzpatrick found himself on his back so many times, and it's frustrating. In the red zone, he's pass first all the time. Why aren't you? That's why we're not scoring. I'd rather see them run it 3 straight plays and then kick the field goal, knowing that's our strength, or run it 2 straight plays and then do a play action because the defense is thinking you're run because that's your strength. Run. Everybody knows that Gailey falls back into his old ways of passing way too much. Every time the Jets lose, they pass too much. Every time they win, they run a lot. It feels obvious to me because I've seen it work for this team, and yet he seems to consistently be forgetting what's been working. And I don't understand why. Screw the situation. It's a bend but not break defense. If we control the ball on offense and run, we're going to break the plays. Yeah, I understand you got to pass it sometimes to mix it up, pass on third down to complete it. That's Fitzpatrick's money. He can make those third down plays, but keep running. We didn't really run the screen or the draw hardly at all against Miami. We used it so much the weeks prior, and it worked well. All right, I've gone on a long rant here. Any questions? So, if Chan Gailey is the one to see the boot, I gotta believe we bring in more of a run-first offensive mind. I'm not sure who's going to be up available. I don't know, maybe we promote someone out of the college ranks. Some fresh blood here, because I like what Bowles is doing with the team. I like what McCagnon's brought in. I mean, obviously not everybody pans out, but I feel like 75% of his guys have truly panned out. So, maybe if Gailey is able to change his offensive mindset with Petty at quarterback after the bye, then he can stick around. But if he stays seemingly stubborn, no. I really think his history with Fitzpatrick last year and in Buffalo is clouding his judgment, because Fitzpatrick's not the same player he was last season. And you got to protect him, not put him in situations where he wants to force the ball and wants to win it for you, because that's not what he's going to do. He should not be doing that ever. I like him. He gave us a great year last year, but he's a backup quarterback right now starting for our football team, and that's unfortunate. Okay. Painful loss, bitter rival. Boo-hoo, Miami. We'll get them one more time this year, and we get a chance to beat them. We'll be at home. I kind of think we'll split the series. The way this game looked, it looked that way. LA Rams come into town. I'm happy we're going to play at home. This is a good opportunity for us to get a win. The Rams are an okay team, underachieving as well. They have not yet played their rookie quarterback, to most people's surprise. Their running game is not what it's supposed to be, and their defense isn't either. So this is a good winnable football game for the Jets. But honestly, since I want us to get a good draft pick, I really don't care. I'd like it to not be sloppy. I'd like it to be entertaining. And yeah, I guess I'd like us to win, because it doesn't look like anyone's going to be quite as bad as the Browns or Bears. Even the Rams and the Jaguars. And there's one other team I'm blanking on who's also really bad right now. They're gonna be like 5 or 6 wins. So if we get 5 or 6 wins, great. I mean, we should beat LA. We should beat Miami. We should beat San Francisco. That's 3 more wins. That puts us at 6. Maybe we get one from New England, and maybe we take both from Buffalo. 7, 8. This is way too many victories for the top 10, top 5 pick. Only a miracle is going to get the Jets in the playoffs. I want a top 5 pick. I can't root for my team to lose, but we got to hope that they lose anyways, and it's been working, so what the hell. All right. What really surprised me here is the division on the team. Now, I understand this is a bad football team. It happens, right? The players that aren't sticking around get antsy. They kind of want to prove themselves, but what are they going to do? They're on a crappy team, and they need their next year's contract. The ones that are stuck here are kind of like, where are we going? What do? You're stuck in the middle. But you don't normally see this on the field. It's like a locker room thing, all right? You work it out at practice. You talk through it. On the sidelines, yelling at each other, all these chippy, like, penalties and, like, trying to prove I'm a big guy type of plays, don't fire me type of plays. It doesn't work. Celebrating after your big play just gets 15 yards and it makes you look bad. This is surprising me, because we have such a cool, level-headed head coach in principle. Obviously, you piss him off, he's going to go ape shit on you and turn the tables and light a fire up under your ass. But he's calm and collected, and he's got his shit together. He doesn't look particularly flustered on the sideline, although he's let his beard grow, and it's 50% gray, so he just looks lost now because he's like an awkward... I mean, I think it kind of looks cool, but it's almost the epitome of the Jets season. He's like, I can't shave until this mess is over with, is kind of what I think how Coach Bowles is saying. But he looks level-headed and reasonably in control of the game. He needs to be more in control of the offense because the offense is off the rails. But the players have lost their cool, and I'm really surprised. Like, I don't think Fitzpatrick wants to be a Jet anymore, because why would he? Brandon Marshall is like the face, the mouth, the voice, the energy behind this team. He's the veteran. He's the leader. And if he's yelling at the quarterback, he wants to play to prove that he's still good and try to correct his numbers on the year. But from the Jets' standpoint, why play a half-injured quarterback when you can play a guy that wants to prove himself? Petty came in for a series against Miami. Looked decent. He didn't get the Jets in the end zone, but we got a field goal. No turnovers. Completed 2 for 2 passes. Kept it simple, and he executed. That's what Chan can do well when he doesn't try to do too much. He tries to do too much, and it's going to get him fired. Overall, I'm pleasantly surprised by our wide receiver growth. I mean, I like the preseason, but to see them getting better in the regular season and being given the opportunity, that's fun for me. Because losing Decker was a huge blow. These guys have stepped it up. We get Decker back next year with these guys. I mean, it's going to be hard. There's not enough playing time for all of them. We're going to trade somebody because they're monsters, or this is just like forever long term, because I don't know I forget how many years Brandon and Decker have left on their contracts. So we got like the whole shebang of receivers in place, assuming nobody regresses, which why would they? They look great. And the holes on the team are obvious. Linebacker, not much depth there, even though I like the young guys developing. There's just not enough depth because we've had injuries. The offensive line, weak, not deep enough. I like the run blocking, the pass blocking though. What the hell? And the secondary, we all know, even though it's kind of shored itself up a little bit of late, is a weakness. So we got some good solid targets in the draft. We shouldn't go after quarterback. There's going to be some excellent free agent quarterbacks available with veteran moxie if we don't think Petty or Hackenberg can start, or if they need another year. We can grab somebody. There are going to be a lot of them available. Hell, Jake Cutler's going to be looking for a fresh start. Maybe him and Fitzpatrick just swap teams. I mean, not out of the question. I'm not particularly in love with any of the quarterbacks entering this draft. If the Jets get a top 10 pick, which is looking like we'll have, no quarterback, or trade it for 2 more later, because there's lots of good depth in this draft, and I like how our general manager has found depth and found players late. Rams, coming up this Sunday. Sunday. It's a home game. Rams are in similar spots to the Jets. With Seattle continuing to win, they have a long way to go in their division. Now, unlike the Jets, the wild card spots in the NFC are a bit more crowded, so the Rams can play themselves back into the playoffs with enough victories. They have not looked like a complete team, though, and they just seem to be getting worse each year or week, regressing. I'd be shocked if the Jets lose to the Rams unless we tank it. I mean, tanking is not really tanking unless you're tanking. But the Rams are going to put their rookie quarterback in at some point. They have to this season, right? I mean, it's kind of a lost year unless they find some miraculous rabbit out of the hat. The Jets should win this home game. Okay. This is a winnable game. We should win this game. It's at home. I think if we had played Miami at home last week, we probably would have won. When we get them at home next time, we'll probably win. This is what happens with even football teams. The home team kind of comes out on top in general. And like I said, I expect big changes in the bye week. I will wait until we reach that point in time to elaborate, because I want to see how this next game goes. It's going to stay a lot of whether anyone gets shit canned during that week. But some people are getting benched. There's going to be changes made. It's late enough in the year. Enough's known about what's to come and what we need to do going forward. I expect some big turnover on the Jets in the bye week before we get New England. All right, any questions before I touch on fantasy? Okay. Seeing none, everyone's wrapped up in their following the election. I have not checked yet, so we'll see what happens. Seems like most of the polls are closing on the East Coast. Still open here on the West Coast for another couple hours. Fantasy football. Fun stuff, right? Forte has been a great option in fantasy these last few weeks. I like him against LA. The Rams just have not looked good, and the Jets are at home. And if they go with their strength, it will be to run the ball, and both him and Powell have been running the ball well. So Powell's Powell's an upside running back 3 option. I'd hesitate to start him because Forte is tending to get in the end zone over him. But I like Forte again. He seems to be good for 10 to 15 points a week, and I'm happy with that. He's getting a touchdown near 100 yards consistently, and I think he's going to keep it up. The receivers, though, it's hard to say. I mean, Brandon Marshall, because him and Fitzpatrick just have lost something, and he needs to spread it around because everyone was just keying on Marshall. He's not putting up those numbers. And I don't know which receiver's going to get them. The Jets are going to put a couple hundred yards passing, but they got so many good guys, it's going to be spread around. I don't like any of them. They're not good. They're not good fantasy options unless you're desperate. Okay, around the New York sports world, the Knicks have gotten going. They're muddling in the middle. I kind of think they're a sleeper team to make the playoffs. They look, but I mean it's early. I'm not going to say anything. It's too early. Everybody has slow starts, fast starts. We'll see. New York Giants. So they had a really good game out of their bye week, and they won. Now either they turned things around, or they just had a really good game out of their bye week, because they were home with an extra week to prepare against a divisional opponent they know very well. They did great in last week's game, don't get me wrong. I am not convinced the Giants are a good football team. The entire NFC outside of, I guess, Seattle, who keeps winning despite themselves, and the Cowboys, they're all kind of bunched together. The Giants have played some good games. They played some awful football games. And I don't really think the Eagles are that good either. So the Giants may be a good team. They may be a playoff team. But it's going to come down to the final couple of weeks for us to really have any clue. That's my personal opinion. Okay. Other thoughts on the Jets before I wrap things up here and send you back to your Election Day coverage. Okay. Well, I am ready to throw the towel in on this Jets season and look towards the future and see what the team looks like next year. I wrote today on BuzzChomp how we kind of need the team to tank. It'd be the smart decision here because it's unlikely that they're making the playoffs, let alone winning a damn thing in the playoffs. And that means a higher draft pick is a bigger chip, a better bargaining option. You can wheel and deal that pick, or you can go grab a high pedigree player that we desperately need. We've seen how other teams can turn things around in a single season. The freaking Cowboys drafted Zeke Elliott and Dak Prescott, and look at them. One draft made a huge difference for them. They also have good line play, though. Ours has been suspect at times. But that's what free agency's for. I like our GM to do some things. I'm looking towards the future. I'm Dan Salem. I will be continuing to live stream throughout this Jets season, no matter how painful it is. How can it get any worse? I can't imagine how. At the Dan Salem on Facebook Live, at the Dan Salem on Twitter. Type, send me questions. BuzzChomp on YouTube. At BuzzChomp with 3 letter Z's on Twitter if you want to hit us up over there for lots of great content, video blogs. Go to Pillow Talk TV and I can make you laugh. Every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, here talking New York Jets football at the Dan Salem, BuzzChomp, Facebook. You guys have been great audiences. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week. That's me hitting the finish button. It's working. I swear. Finishing up.